Welcome to the HR Data Labs podcast, now part of the Work Defined Podcast Network. Join us as we explore the vital role of compensation, strategy, data, and people analytics in navigating today's complex business world. With the resources of Work Defined, we're now bringing you deeper insights and actionable ideas from top experts. Now, here is your host, David Turetsky. I am your host, David Turetsky, and welcome to the HR Data Labs podcast. I am so pleased to be able to introduce Amy Dufrane. Amy, how are you?
Great. It's great to be here.
Great to have you here. We've been planning this for quite some time, and so it's good to finally meet you.
It's just great to be here. It's great to be stateside, and it's great to be on a time zone that's like conducive to where I'm normally at.
Yeah. So why don't you tell people about yourself as well as why that preamble about where you've been?
So obviously, Amy Dufrane, and I am the CEO for HRCI. I've been the CEO for, my goodness, 15-ish years, maybe.
Wow.
It seems like a long time. Before that, I was a CHRO for a few organizations, one that was in the regulatory space. So we regulated the municipal securities market. I worked for a scientific organization, worked in higher ed, worked in large retail conglomerates. So varied background. I also taught at the university level, both undergraduate and graduate, which I love to do that because I love to see the light go on in people's eyes when they finally get it. So, I've just been so passionate about the profession of HR my whole entire career. I didn't know that I was going to land here, but I did. And I'm so fortunate that this happened to me. In my free time, I spend time with the Wall Street Journal CEO Council. I'm on the board for the World Federation of People Management Associations. I'm on the board for the North American Human Resource Management Association, the board for Columbia Lighthouse for the Blind, and just an HR person who loves to see organizations grow. And I love to see our profession mature. When I think about earlier in my career, HR was so transactional and operational. And now we have a seat where we are whispering into the CEO's ear, and she or he doesn't do anything without us. So this is an awesome time to be in HR.
Absolutely. Totally agree. So Amy, awesome introduction, but what's one fun thing that no one knows about you?
There's so many crazy things I could say. I love women's basketball. I have 3 kids. My oldest played basketball her whole entire career through college, both D3 and D1. And so, I just love watching women's basketball come into its own. And, there's some amazingly talented basketball players that are out there. And right now we're in kind of the preambles of March Madness. So bring it on.
I know, exactly. If you're a basketball fan, there couldn't be a better time than March. I mean, you've got not only March Madness, but you have all the NBA and WNBA. Well, the WNBA stuff happened already, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's so the drafts will happen after their season's over. So we're right in the cusp of watching people like AZ Fudd. Where's she going to go? Is she going to be number 1 in the draft? And anyway, amazing time to be a women's basketball college student.
And I'm a hockey fan, so I'm watching the PWHL grow. And actually, I need to get to some games. I've only been to one game since I moved to New York, and I really want to go see the PWHL. So,
yeah,
to me,
it's so fun to be there, right?
Athletes.
In the audience, and really
a lot of excitement, ton of excitement.
Yes, for sure.
So, Amy, today we're going to have a really cool topic and a really cool conversation. We're going to be talking about something that's near and dear to a lot of our hearts, which is becoming a recovery-friendly workplace and the impact of substance abuse disorders on organizations.
What if being a leader worth following means being human, imperfect, and open to learning? This is Kate Johnson, owner of 123 Limited, and I want to invite you to discover how to care for, support, and even love the people you lead. Join me every Tuesday for the Well-Led Podcast.
So, Amy, getting back into it, why is this such a big issue, not only for HR professionals, but for employers in general?
Well, substance abuse disorder or substance use disorder affects a significant amount of our workforce, and we don't know it. I mean, there's people that are involved in this. More than 30 million Americans
Wow.
that are employed in our workforces right now have some sort of substance abuse disorder, and a broader percentage, a larger percentage of our workforce are impacted by the people that they
Right.
love, their friends, their family that have this substance abuse disorder. And so it's around us. And whether or not employers want to, some employers stigmatize it, others don't, but it's affecting nearly 80% of our workforce. So
Wow.
it's a huge number. Every employer will face this, whether or not they want to or not. If they bury their head about it or around it, they're knee deep in it. Workers that experience substance abuse disorder, otherwise known as SUD, so they take 50% more time off of work, and their annual turnover rate, according to the Department of Labor, is 44%.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
huge. That's a huge number when you look at the analytics around this. So this translates into lost productivity, higher healthcare costs, and increased risk of workplace accidents.
So it
So
doesn't just impact
yeah,
them, it impacts
yes,
all the people around them
exactly.
work in their environment.
That's right. That's right. And there's a lot of confusion around this. And so there's been a big push of folks that have really tried to dig in and help employers to understand this better, understand that this is not a choice. This is a chronic condition, just like diabetes, just like cancer. So we're really trying to broaden the awareness of this, talk about this, and provide some resources for employers to learn more about it, to become educated about it.
Just like in the past when mental illness or mental health have come up as topics of conversation, I think a lot of us in HR have kind of felt like whether it's substance abuse or mental health, these are very hard edges for us to deal with. And obviously there's a lot of HIPAA issues with both.
That's right.
They're
That's
both
right.
very serious. And as you're mentioning, so many people are impacted by both. How does an HR person tend to navigate this right now? Is it something that, and I'm asking not out of ignorance, I'm asking out of actual care.
Right.
How does an HR person actually wrap their heads around this impact?
Right. I think first is you've got to get educated around it. So really pay attention, understand the issue, create those policies and resources within your workforce so that you're head on, sort of focused on what this looks like, and do this now. Don't wait until there's a problem. Look at it now, because chances are you probably already have this in your workforce and you don't even know it. So
Even knowing it
right.
means that are we violating HIPAA by knowing it, or do people have to self-identify to say, listen, I have problems, I'm going to need a little bit of time off? Do we treat this, or is it FMLA? How do we deal with this?
Right, right. You have to treat it just like you would diabetes, just like you would cancer, and give people that space so that they can work on what it is that they need to do, whatever stage that they're in through their journey, to help them along this path. I mean, I remember when I was in HR, I had people that were telling me things that they didn't tell anybody else. Situations just like
Right.
this where, people were faced with very serious situations. They didn't know what to do. They
Right.
wanted to keep their job. They loved their job. They loved their employer, but they knew that they were physically and mentally ill, whatever,
Right.
kind of whatever that condition was. So I knew that I needed to get educated about this, and that if it wasn't just me, there were other HR professionals out there that are dealing with how do I make sure that I'm helping people along in their journey, mitigating risk within the organization for the organization itself and the employees and that person who is in the situation that they find themselves in because of this serious chronic condition.
Absolutely. So where does HR start? I guess this is our second question, which is where does HR start? Is there training? Is there anything? Does HRCI have something? Not to sell your services, but where do people begin? I mean, you're talking about education. Where do we go for that?
That's right. So we partnered with an organization called Global Recovery Initiatives Foundation in 2024. Gosh, it seems like, it's been not that long ago, but I guess it has been that long ago, right? And we did some research around this, firstly. So we partnered with a research organization who's really looking to give back. And kind of how this journey all started was the research that was done around the topic of SUD was the substance abuse or substance use disorder was done by an organization, and they didn't talk to HR people in the first round of this research. So it was sort of like you're missing, like when you're helping employers, you've got to talk to HR, not just managers, because HR is on the front line of all of these, sort of things that people are dealing with. So we got involved in this initiative with global recovery initiatives. And then we talked to the HR professionals that were out there about, okay, what do you need? How can we help you? And so we published some research around this. We actually launched it at the White House in 2024. And we were really excited about this because at this point, White House is getting involved. And we need to make sure that our workforce is healthy and ready because we've got lots of jobs out there that we need to have filled by people. So when we did this, we launched it during National Recovery Month. And one of the things that we discovered and uncovered is that HR needs to make sure that it has policies around this so that people are comfortable, talking to their manager and HR about this. So it's not just policies, but you have to have training around it. So you just don't put a policy in place and then not, sort of give
that
managers.
Never happens, does it, Amy?
Never.
Horror stories, but
I know. It's sorry. Yeah. Anyway, so I think that, that education piece is all around what it is. And I think from like any initiative that comes from the top, it has to come from the CEO that we are, we want to make sure that our workplace is healthy and that we're supporting our employees as they journey through whatever situation that they're in. And so we're going to focus on this as an organization. And why we partnered with Global Recovery Initiatives Foundation is that they have a certification for your organization to become certified as an organization that's welcoming to individuals who are along this journey. And it's not that just like, cancer can reoccur, diabetes is a chronic condition, so is substance abuse disorder. It doesn't go away. It's always there. So you've got to make sure that you've got things set up in your organization that is conducive for people who are they're going along this journey of substance abuse disorder. Make sure that you have that framework set out for organizations. So I think that at HRCI, we got certified as an employer who cares about our employees. We have employees who are going along their journey in sort of substance abuse as any organization does. And so we are supporting employees that are in recovery. And that's what this certification does. It really elevates that conversation. And when we were at the White House, we had, every organizations like Gorilla Glue, Oracle, big organizations out there who had champions who were really passionate about this because they themselves were going, they were along their journey of recovery. And so we feel like this is such a good partnership to have to help organizations to push them along and getting educated about this and putting things in their workforce to help them be better.
So 2 questions. So is it that HR is getting certified or the company is getting certified?
The company is getting certified so that you have structures in place. And a lot of it is HR, right? It falls on HR's shoulders to make sure that there are policies and practices in place, that there's training and education, that you have your managers go through an awareness training on what are those signs and symptoms that I may need some help as a
Right.
manager with an employee who may be not yet ready to, face
Right.
their condition, or a manager that is needing help having that conversation with the employee. So I think there's a lot. It isn't impossible for an organization. This is not like, this is not going to take years. This is something that they're baby steps, right? They're little teeny baby steps forward as to how do you in your organization make sure that you're having that very important conversation about.
Yeah, we all know managers are typically not the best at being able to handle good news, much less difficult conversations. And so
That's right.
this is probably a really key part of a company who, if they want to be an employer of choice and they want to provide managers with an ability to have thoughtful and useful conversations around this and not just say, hey, okay, let me call HR because I don't know what I'm doing here.
Right. That's right.
It probably makes more sense to have the organization go through this and provide managers with those tools to be able to do it on their own.
Right. I think, a very important conversation and a recognition that you as an organization know every organization is dealing
Oh,
with this.
sure.
So we want to be on the forefront of this and a place where people who are going along their recovery journey can feel comfortable talking to their manager about, hey, I don't really want to go to that, event that the organization is having because it's, there may be alcohol there and I
Right.
don't want to. But so HR then says, okay, we need to make sure that we have mocktails or that we have other offerings. And that's just one teeny tiny example,
Sure.
but it's just sort of an awareness that, this is a challenge and we as an organization have to think differently.
Well, this is 2026. And with all the liability issues of serving
That's right.
alcohol or drugs at parties, one
That's
would
right.
argue that the last thing you should be doing is going to a party that has alcohol
That's right.
and then
Very
people drive
true.
home from. So,
Right. Right. Right.
yeah, I mean, it being 2026 and all. So let's touch on the third question, which I think kind of takes it all home. It sounds like there are resources available. Could it be that more of organizational cultural issue, such as companies unwilling to commit budget and resource to supporting these SUD initiatives, is that the problem? Or is it something else?
Yeah. So I think if you focus on the monetary investment of it, it's super short sighted. I mean, that's just like it is with any organization. In every conversation we're in, not that I'm equating substance abuse disorder with AI, but there isn't a conversation that we have
No?
about it that isn't around AI. And
Right.
this is not a short term issue. You have to invest resources in education because you're not going to see the return on investment in 30 days. It's a longer term investment. So it's a longer runway that you've got to make sure that you are investing those resources so that you are part of this educational journey on substance abuse disorder. And what does that mean and look like? So no workplace is immune. You hear those numbers and,
Oh, yeah.
as an HR person, you go, holy moly, I got to really pay attention to this
Right.
because where burying your head about this or around this is not going to do you any good. You've got to really
No, it
consider
actually
it.
could make the problem worse. And,
That's right. That's right.
we don't want to do that.
And I think it's not only from managers, but coworkers too. You need to help everybody to understand and help your coworker who might be going through this. How can you, as a colleague, be supportive to them as they're along in this journey? So I think we need to make sure it's not treated as just a one and done. It is a chronic condition and it does require a longitudinal look from an organizational perspective to make sure that you're putting tools and policies and practices in place and it just becomes part of your culture and
Absolutely.
the way that you're thinking about SUD, not just right now, but into the future. Things will evolve, practices will evolve as your organization becomes more sophisticated And you're more open about things like substance abuse disorder and mental health recovery, to sort of put another, you think differently as an
Sure.
organization, like maybe we should consider these things. So I think it's part of an organization's journey.
Let me ask you a really horrible question, but in the world of regulation, a lot of organizations say, well, we'll get to it when there's a compliance issue. This isn't a compliance problem necessarily right now, right? I mean, this
No,
is more of a being able to meet your employees where they are and where they need help.
right. I think that for me in my journey through HR, and where I am right now, our people are our most important investment. And that's what differentiates us as a company. There are lots of companies out there that do the same thing, a consulting organization or manufacturer of, pens or whatever. Your biggest differentiator is your people.
Hmm.
And you have to make sure that whatever you're doing is focused 100% on what people are dealing with right now. So that, paying attention to this is so imperative as an organization, because your employees are dealing with this.
Yeah.
And as an employer, you've got to be, you know, throw everything you can at this to learn quickly and to then gain momentum within your senior team to say, this is important. And it's, we need to start talking about this and integrating this with everything that we're doing across the organization. So there are all sorts of things that are important, but you hear those numbers. 80% of our workforce
Yeah,
somehow is impacted by this.
sure.
That is a huge number.
And on top of it, they've got mental health issues, they've got
That's
family
right.
issues, they've got
That's right.
childcare issues, they've got so many things that are pushing down on them that the inability for not just HR, but for the organization to deal with this, it's not a human failing. You got to stop thinking about these things as being something that someone has a choice on, and that they really do take this seriously because,
Mhm.
it's our work family.
That's
And we
right.
spend so much time at work these days that this really does affect them as being a family. And you don't really need to talk about ROI. Yes, I know CFOs, I need to talk about ROI, but
That's right.
the ROI in this is that your organization's health and
That's right.
happiness is dependent upon this, right?
That's right. And your people and the people that they work with and families and all of these pressures that people are feeling right now. Um, I think we have to think about all of these things. And this is one that I think is a monumental uh, conversation that employers need to be having. And I think that right now, HR can lead this discussion and really have an organization that people feel, that they can be themselves
Authentic
and
selves.
bring
Yeah.
their true self to
Yeah.
work.
So again, Amy, I don't mean to dredge this up again, but you mentioned a path forward and you mentioned the next step. What I like to do in that third question is bring that next step back to people and make sure they heard it. So there's a company that does this training, an organization that does this training, right? What was the name of
Yes.
them?
So you can go to the National Recovery Friendly Workplace Institute, and it's operated by the Global Recovery Initiatives Foundation. So that's the bigger umbrella. And what they're doing is certifying organizations against this. They give you great tools and resources. So you're not creating this from nothing.
Right.
They are part of this, and HRCI as well, part of this White House initiative to really elevate this conversation and to start it. So
Mhm.
it's just that very first step that you take. And there's some magnificent people out there that have done this within their organizations, as I mentioned, Gorilla Glue, Oracle, that have really taken a hold of this and said, we believe in this. And I think that that's a great first step for organizations to discover this. And at HRCI, we can give, if you come to our website, you can ask our team about it, and we can make sure that you get to the right organization. We are just a
Yeah.
partner. This is not a financial endeavor for us, but
Right.
we know HR is faced with this, and this is something we need to help them with.
Yeah, we'll definitely put the links
Great.
to that website that you mentioned, that foundation that you mentioned as well, so
Super.
that if people wanted to reach out to them, they can certainly get a hold of them and find that information that you're talking about, not only the certification programs, but some of those artifacts that they've created to make life easier for HR people who, while we love artifacts, we don't like creating them as much.
That's
So
right. We
don't
want
reinvent
something
the
that's ready
wheel.
to go.
Yeah. Why can't you give it to me already to go?
That's right.
But yeah, so we'll do that in the show notes so that
Super. Oh, great.
you'd have access to them right away.
That's great.
If you were giving advice to a CHRO who is faced with this right now, what would you tell them? CEO to CHRO, what would you tell, since you were a CHRO and I've been in the past, what would you tell them?
I would say this is impacting your workforce, and you need to pay attention to this. It will increase the stickiness of your organization. It increases your retention. You focus on this. It will decrease the number of times that people are not in the office when they're supposed to be. So that productivity will skyrocket. And there's some really simple steps that you can take to help your organization embrace this and to really be a profit around this substance abuse recovery and making yourself a friendly workplace for those that are in this recovery journey.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Amy. I appreciate you
Thank
being here.
you.
It was a pleasure having you. Maybe we'll have you come back and talk on some other artifacts or issues that are happening in the world of HR.
I'd love it. It's my
Very
favorite thing to talk about.
Yay.
Besides my kids, I guess, too, right?
Well, we'll talk about them next time.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, David.
Thank you all. Take care and stay safe. Thank you for listening to the HR Data Labs podcast. Don't forget to hit subscribe and share it with your network. You can also check out the recordings on Spotify or the HR channel, now on Roku and Fire TV. Thank you, take care, and stay safe.